Do me a favor, Game Master. Don't sabotage your own game by helping develop bad habits in your players. A player wants to join your game, and they have to make a character, and they have to read a section of material, maybe from a player's handbook, to figure out what they're doing. You need them to competently read that material and put their best foot forward. You'll help them, you'll answer questions, but if you're doing 80% of the work and they're barely trying, there's an issue there that needs to be fixed. You need to make sure that you don't help them with that 80%. Don't let them get away with it to get into your game. If they can get away with one bad thing, they'll push for more. And right away, you're developing bad habits and bad behavior in your players. Even the expectation you should have when it comes to effort from a player when they're playing a game should be pretty high. They should have to do what any player should do, put their best foot forward. And if players aren't doing that, you need to speak up and say something, because if you keep letting players get away with being lazy and half-assing in your game, it only gets worse, and they get worse. Or if a player is rude. They're aggressively rude in your game. They're verbally rude to you and the other players. You need to have the nerve to say something to that person. If you let them get away with talking the way they want, it doesn't get better, it gets worse. And they get worse as players. It is not easy being a game master. Not at least a proper game master who manages the game, who has control over things, who puts bad behavior in check, and doesn't let people half-ass in their game so it develops bad behavior. Yeah, it's a lot of work, and if you don't do that work as a game master, you run into all these issues. And in my opinion, you make the hobby worse because you're producing bad players that are going to go play in other games, right? And people get to see some of this bad behavior. And so in a way, you're promoting it. You're letting it happen. And then you come up with some half-assed ways of trying to sort it out, where you should just be confronting it from the get-go and not half-assing yourself. If you put the work in, make the effort, and have the nerve, you'll get it back from players. You might not get all the players you want right away. Things might take time because you're going to run into some people with issues, and you can't keep issue people in your game. Let them correct their issues. If they can on the spot, if you can curve that back to good, go ahead. But if they can't, don't keep them in the game. If you talk with players and they don't want to correct the way they're behaving, if they want to keep being rude to people, time to let them move on, if not give them the boot. Don't get it wrong. You can half-ass and maybe have a good night or two of gaming. There's no doubt you can produce some fun times, even while you get things, wrong, as you half-ass the process. But it doesn't last. There's no long-term campaigning. You don't get the best out of tabletop role-playing games in this half-assed way. You might have a fun night where you had a good laugh, you know what I mean? And that might last a little bit, but it won't last forever. Things will break down. So take it serious from the get-go if you want to get something good out of it. How many times do you want to look over at a player, ask a question for information they should have, and they don't have it? Right? Or how many times do you want to look at a player and ask them what they're going to do? They've had plenty of time to think about it. But they've half-assed. They haven't put no thought into what they're going to do. And they're going to slow down the game. And they're going to slow down the game either through that effort or not knowing what's up with their character. And it's going to happen consistently because you're not taking care of it. You're not pinching that problem away. You're leaving it there. So then it becomes an issue because it's not just happening once. If you're, playing 10 sessions, you're going to start noticing the frequency hitting in, kicking in. When you get to parts of the game, it's going to be slowed down by half-assed efforts and responses. You need players to read the material. You need players to make the effort so they can develop into good players who are going to help you and themselves have a great experience at a tabletop role-playing game. If you don't do this stuff or enforce this stuff, all you do is build bad habits, even in decent people. We're only human, right? So if we get away with things, we can behave in ways that we normally wouldn't, right? So put these things in check. If not, you're going to sabotage yourself and your game in the long run. Don't do that. Anyway, for now, take care. You know what you can do? You can hit the like button. You can share the video. Oh, and there's another button you can press. That one that lets you subscribe to my channel for more content. Oh yeah, there's that bell thing. You can press that so you know when I've uploaded a new video right away.